Okay, let's focus on the markets now and wrap up the latest on the US markets in particular as we head live to Michelle Schneider from Market Gauge. Hello to you. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
So the big news, it must have been a few days ago now, was around El Salvador and talking about Bitcoin and this legal tender. So they're moving pretty fast here at the moment, I believe. What's the latest?
Well, now there's rumored to be really ripe for spreading to some of the other Caribbean countries. And so that's really the braveness of El Salvador's president, is that he came out to do this at a time when there's been so much controversy about Bitcoin in general. So it is perceived as good news. And the fact that he's moving so fast, I think, really helped boost the Bitcoin market and the whole cryptocurrency space today. So we'll see what happens from here in terms of follow through.
So what is the market doing now? Because yesterday it really plummeted again, but have you seen a bit of a bounce back over the past 24 hours or so?
Yes, and there was also news about a penthouse in Miami that sold for Bitcoin. I think it was something like $23.5 million in Bitcoin. So that also at least gave it some store of value. Of course, to most of us that sounds like an obscene price to pay, but nonetheless, it actually added some kind of validity to the whole Bitcoin space. So what happened was we saw a dip to 30,000 if we're just looking at Bitcoin, and we bounced from there. We had a dip more recently to 30,000, so that actually puts in the potential of a double bottom. So the naysayers has also been dragged around with Bitcoin, and that too held some critical support. So we're looking at 3,000 in that level.
Of course, we're looking at the inflation rate as well at the moment. So I believe there's an announcement coming out in the next couple of days that should provide a bit more information. What's the latest here?
Well, you have the Consumer Price Index coming out in the United States tomorrow. The anticipation is that even if it's a higher number, that there's still the idea of the fact that this is a transitory, healthy inflation. That's what Janet Yellen came out and spoke about, and I've heard other economists talk about that. Of course, I'm a lot more dubious about that because I think that the inflation situation is only going to increase. And now, considering your headline story about Biden and the rollout of vaccine globally, that could only add more fuel to the fire of inflation. Of course, it's really great news for people, but I'm speaking strictly about inflation numbers, and I am concerned about the low supply, and as demand increases, what that's going to happen to inflation and all of the raw material prices, which are still holding up very high.
And let's look at the meme stocks. I haven't really been watching this over the past couple of days, but are they still continuing? We spoke last week, of course, I think it was AMC was the conversation. What's going on here?
Well, this week it was all about Wendy, chicken tendies, which in slang means profits, and also with Clover Health, which was a SPAC that was originally made by Chamath that went public, which has to do with healthcare and Medicare that went crazy yesterday. Today was a little bit more sobering around the board, although there was a couple of other stocks that picked up today as well. I think the whole story here is you've got this SEC investigation, whether or not they're doing anything fraudulent. And I think they're going to prove to see that it's more spontaneous and uncoordinated. And of course, now you have everybody there looking at short float, hoping pick me as the next stock that the Reddit army goes after. So we had earnings in GameStop. Of course, no surprise that the valuation of the stock of over 300 today would not be matched by earnings, and that came down. But as we know, this is not really fundamental. This is really based on short squeeze and the whole ape mentality of that we're stronger together and let's get this stock flying. So it's still there. Still there. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
All right, we'll watch that closely. Great to chat as always. How can we check out your work and your social commentary? I know you're doing updates pretty much every day, right?
Yes, I am. At Market Minute on Twitter, I post pretty much everything. And Instagram is a fun way to look at my morning stories because I kind of lay out the market